contractor support, and this is our second event like this at the contractor support workshop. So we have a lot of expertise on both sides. I just want to acknowledge that there's tons of smart people on this side. We have an amazing group here of experienced RainWise contractors who have been part of the program for a long time, as well as an inspector. And they're here to answer your questions. So we're really trying to work with newer contractors, people who are going through the RainWise training, and then have questions as follow-up once you hit the ground and have technical, in the field questions that are coming up. So we're going to do some panel-led discussion and then open up for Q&A. Thank you to all of you who responded to our survey. That helped us inform what our panelists are focusing on. We're really going to work on kind of business practices, financial practices, cash flow, how you make this program work in your business, as well as customer recruitment, some technical issues, and then definitely having time for, if we haven't touched on anything, to get your questions answered. And we'll do an evaluation at the end, and we're going to have a little video happening here, so just know that that's going on. So before we get started, I just want to introduce our folks. And if you could say your name, your business, your own name, how long you've been involved with RainWise, a little bit just kind of general sense of how much RainWise is part of your business. Is it 5%, 80%? If you are a landscaper, just kind of give people in this room a sense of how long you've been in the program and how RainWise is part of your model. So let's start with Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Fassel. I'm the less intelligent and less attractive, lesser partner of Fassel Gardens. So we're a husband and wife design build. We're a boutique landscape construction company, and we have a territory that is based in the north end of Seattle. RainWise, we did the first residential rain garden in the north end for the RainWise program in Seattle, and that was 100% a function of my wife is so outgoing and really, is very ecologically oriented, and all of the approach to the things that she models her business about, and she'd be a much more attractive, much better spoken spokesperson for our involvement in it. But essentially, we discovered RainWise at a time when the economy was recovering, and so it was a huge part of our business. We did maybe 80% of our business was rebated rain gardens in the very beginning in 2010 and 11, and I think we maybe have 175 rain gardens done. So now we maybe do 2 or 3 a year, and it's primarily a function of us having served like the low-hanging fruit in the early part of the program. The program expanded into different basins, and as it did, we had an exposure that were word-of-mouth projects that kept us in North Seattle. So when the basin opened in West Seattle, we already had enough work to take new projects in West Seattle. It wasn't because of our small size, didn't make any sense. So did I answer? Okay. That's James.
Yeah. I'm James. I'm an inspector with Seattle Public Utilities doing RainWise inspections in the Seattle basins, or the SPU basins. I suppose I've been doing them for 3 to 5 years.
2010.
Yeah,
No,
7 years.
That's where I met you, first time 2010. My first record.
Was it your first one?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
2000. That's a long time ago it was.
So James is here kind of to, in case any of the contractors misspeak, James is the SPU actually, so just so you know, he's our resident expert. David.
So I'm David Email. I'm a co-owner of Rain Dog Designs. We opened our business in 2009. But before that, we've been working with a lot of nonprofits to do rain garden installations. So we probably had several hundred under our belt before we started the RainWise program. And then in 2010, we started with rain gardens mostly, and then we've kind of changed to do more cistern installations as the program has changed, the basins have opened up. We are a full-service landscaping design installation company. RainWise is probably 95% of our business. We're growing in Pierce County and in Kitsap County with cistern installations. We're also a distributor for one of the manufacturers who supplies the RainWise program. So we were opening that up, and there are some rebate programs in Kitsap and Pierce County we're taking advantage of too. So we work in King, Kitsap, and Pierce.
Sorry, your name one more time?
Excuse me?
Your name one?
Raindog Designs, David, email. I have some brochures there.
And I'm Jake Harris, and my company is Stone Soup Gardens. And we've been doing RainWise since it started, with a previous company, and actually Mars had the honor or dishonor, pleasure, wasn't work with. Yeah, and then Stone Soup Gardens I started in 2011 and went out for myself. And RainWise, I think it'd probably be about 40% of our work. We're full service, we're whole system design, kind of permaculture is really what we do. So we're building chicken coops and raised beds and all that, and community farm work as well. We are primarily focused in Southeast Seattle. I want to walk or bike to all of my clients, and we're succeeding at it. Literally, yeah, like this week I've been just walking around the neighborhood to check up on projects. So because we're in Southeast Seattle, we started out doing rain gardens, and we were going all over the place, doing them in West Seattle, Northeast Seattle, all that. Now that we're in Southeast Seattle, we're doing a lot more cisterns, it seems. When I looked at last year, I was really surprised to look through and go, oh, I used to think of myself as the rain garden guy, but now we have a lot more cistern work, because Southeast Seattle has soil difficulties doing rain gardens. Yeah, that's a solid enough intro.
Cool. And I'm John Coughlin, and the company's Homegrown Organics. We're also permaculture edible landscaping company in Seattle, and we started rain garden, RainWise work in 2012-ish. I'd say it's like 75% of our work. It might be 50% in terms of the total revenue, but in terms of the time, it's probably closer to 80 to 90. But we really like participating with the program, and it gives us a lot of word of mouth and opens the doors to do a lot of cool projects that we like to be involved in. And we work in, we're based out of Central Seattle, but we work in West Seattle and Ballard and Northeast Seattle. Yeah.
Great. So a lot of the questions that people came up with of what they would find beneficial to hear from experienced contractors is kind of best business practices for financial health. So you've all touched a little bit on how you've expanded and changed some of rain gardens to cisterns, or incorporating permaculture, or how RainWise has affected your business plan and model. A specific question is, how do you remain solvent within the rebate program? How do you handle upfront costs? Do you offer VPO? Do you use craft examples of how do you make the RainWise program work for you financially, especially thinking of people who are starting out and don't necessarily have a lot of cash flow reserves? What advice would you give? How have you learned over the last 5 to 10 years of being involved in this program? Anybody want to start with that one?
I'll start with it. I mean, we do VPO work. We are able to do it now for like most small homes because we can float that. When we started, we kind of took it on, and maybe it stretched us a little more than it does now, but it was helpful because it would get us into a place where we could do a project and then get more word of mouth growing. And then recently we got set up with Craft 3. We did a large roof project with a church and daycare in South Seattle, and the whole experience is over, and it was very positive. Thank you, James and Laura and everybody who made that possible. So that was a really positive experience for us. And it wouldn't have been possible. I can't float $70,000 for a RainWise project. So that was really cool. It opened doors for something that was and a financially good project too, because working on large roofs, we found sometimes it can be complicated but worth the hurdles. Other times they can be pretty profitable, especially way more margin than a small roof RainWise project. Yeah. And also then they can involve community aspects and, you know, some of the other things that we value as our business. I saw your hand go up.
What's Craft 3?
Craft 3 is a lender, nonprofit lender that has a program now with RainWise, so they'll front the costs. So they once there's been a pre-inspection, they give us half of the rebate that the person or organization qualifies for, and then after a post-inspection, they'll wire the remainder, and they have a 2.something% fee.
Mm.
And so the in this case the church didn't have to pay anything for the garden, and we were able to not have to wait until like up to 8 weeks after the paperwork was turned in, which is not cool.
How just from getting a line of credit, how onerous was Craft 3?
Craft 3
compared
is
to
awesome,
other business
but
loans
they were slow, but I think
Okay.
they're gonna be better after us.
Yeah.
I advocate for them, but I think we were the first contractor that worked with them that had a larger scale. I think it kind of threw them a curveball, but yeah, I think they're great. So.
What kind of war chest did you start off with 2 years ago? What size war chest?
He is from Vashon, so.
I lived in Ballard when we started. I had no war chest. Yeah, we started off. We started off 90% of our work was non-RainWise, so we'd always get paid up front for jobs. And then when we did get someone who needed VPO, or there was a really cool job we wanted to participate, or it was a cluster. It was like, hey, we want to do these 4 homes, and one person on my block can't put up the money. We're like, okay, well we can swing it because of that. So no, never started out with much of I would describe it as more like
Pottery chest.
Yeah, pottery chest.
And I'm gonna make a little note, there was a contractor newsletter that talked about the pilot access loan that Craft 3 works, so Aaron, I've got down to send you that, when I get to work. So.
They don't just do large roofs too, they'll do
Yeah,
like
they do the single.
if you have like a $4,000 rebate for a homeowner that can't pay it, they can front that too, so, yeah.
Cool. So the question is how to make RainWise work for us. I think for us, we get a lot of contacts through RainWise. I'd say like 40% of our work is in RainWise, but I'd say more like 70% of our contacts are through RainWise.
Mm-hmm.
And because we do a whole lot more than just RainWise, how it works for us is we get in with a cistern, and then when they get their rebate back, then they sign on for another 20K or something like that. They sign on for the patio and the design of the food forest and all of that. I think that's how RainWise has really worked for us. A lot of our initial clients that we had have turned into ongoing installations, so that's been big. As I said, our neighborhood approach is really working for us too. I don't like to drive all over the city, and having a geographical specific area means I can serve the clients better, and just makes the installs a lot more efficient to make sure everything is covered.
It made me feel bad if I worked there.
My turf, yo. So then, what else has been helpful with the RainWise program, making it work? I think one thing too, we do charge for initial consultations. So that means we're going for clientele who would have more income, which, so we don't often do vendor payment options that way, and it kind of does, I will say, weed out folks who aren't able to afford our services. So that's something that's challenging, because I've had long conversations with folks about wanting to be able to offer to everybody, but it's just kind of the nature of the game and the industry we're in. And then we do get awesome projects for community scale installations, like the Carlton Avenue grocery store that we did with Dirt Corps. So we get to give back to community in other ways.
What is your charge for that initial
We
consultation?
do $150 as our consultation, and it's beyond RainWise. Usually when folks are interested in hiring us to come out for a consult, we do a 2-hour consult with myself and one of our permaculture designers, and we go through the whole landscape and talk about anything under the sun that they wanna be chatting about. So that could be positioning, where's the best spot for your fruit trees, where's this, where's that? And usually with RainWise, we focus the first hour on sorting out the RainWise issues and figure out, okay, how's the cistern gonna work, where's the rain garden gonna work? And then we spend the rest of the time talking about the other fun things they wanna do, whether it's a catio or a shooty bond fence or any of these other fun things we get to do, so.
So, let's see, so we're a LLC, we're two-person owners, we don't have any employees. So we try to keep our overhead low or zero. So if we need help, we have some contractors, subcontractors to work with, so the idea for staying solvent is not to have overhead, to really keep your overhead in check. So that's the thing, if you're not working, if you don't have money, that's gonna you'll always be paying your overhead. So you have your insurance, you have your license fee, all those kind of things you have to, your vehicle operations, so you account for that. But try to stay, within your means and not have employees if you can. Which means you have to find contractors who are willing to work on call. So you have to develop these relationships, whether it's like you might meet somebody who can, who's a sewer person, who is a licensed sewer, site sewer contractor, or someone who can actually climb elevations and get up on roofs. And so you need a good gutter person who can do tall roofs. Let's see. Hire a CPA. Let them do your taxes. That was our first mistake. Was we went for 3 years and I couldn't do the automated or the online stuff. It was just complicated. So we hired a CPA and it costs you money, but it's so worth it because they'll keep you straight with the IRS. You don't want that letter from the IRS to say that you underpaid or you're in trouble. So for new contractors, your time is valuable. You don't have to give your services away. And so earlier in the program, I was recruited and others were recruited, let's get the new contractors and they'll do it for the rebate amount. So what would happen is you'd actually be losing money or you'd be doing it for less than what you're worth. And so initially we did projects and some of the community, some of the Vietnamese communities came in and we worked with some program where they refused to pay, they weren't gonna do projects unless you did, just for the rebate. So kind of broke even there and it was a lot of work. But that was our contribution, okay, so we're not doing those anymore. We work for, the rebate plus out of pocket, depends, and so we're gonna, with the new rebate amount, that's really good, so that has changed a lot of what we're looking at. But don't be afraid to charge for a consultation fee. Don't be afraid to tell the client you need some out of pocket money because it's gonna cost you more to the project than the rebate is amount. Because there are 50,000 property owners who are eligible, and there's like 15 to 20 active contractors, so there's a lot more demand for your services than there are capabilities. So find the low-hanging fruit, find those projects that actually are easier to do, where you can get large roof area and really do well for yourself. So then you can put money away, start saving, and start putting, this is that war chest that we've been talking about, so that you can do those larger projects. And we do all BPO. We don't charge upfront, but we've been able to do that by saving our money, and then just keep building on that and keep something in the bank so you can always weather. We did apply for the RPAL, the craft food thing. We haven't used it yet, but we will have some projects coming up. So we've been doing a lot of residential, and then we started moving into larger roof projects. And I'll say those can be difficult because it can take a year from start to finish. I don't know how long you guys have been working on that one.
Yeah, they have a long.
From initial contact to completion can be a year and a half. And so what you want to do while you're waiting for those projects and there's so many layers, boards and approvals and all this, it's a difficult process, or time consuming, not difficult. You want to have all your residential projects, smaller projects going. Okay, so you want to have those in mix. So you plan for the larger projects, apply for that loan program to help you, and that's also very busy. That's where the CPA helps because they're going to want all that information from your account, get you approved. Let's see. Those are the main things, and then it'll come back to me, so I'll pass the next
I
one.
got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you do VPO with people have out-of-pocket expense? Do you charge for that
too is, we started off as a rain garden, basically rain gardens, and we moved into cisterns, and we became a cistern distributor. So, some advice, because there's an issue with getting tanks now, lately, is to order several and have those available to you for your small projects. Like right now, I have like 10 420 gallon Mocha tanks in my stockpile that I'm using for projects that'll pop up. And I try not to have a great selection of colors. I try to steer my clients to a single color, because it's just cheaper to keep the inventory of one color, and the Mocha seems to be the beige for those, it's the Bushman color. The beige color seems to work with a lot of painting schemes for houses, and so you can screen those. You can't paint the tanks. The manufacturer recommends not to paint those tanks, so you should get one of the four basic colors. But we try to keep a single color, and that seems to have worked. So keeps our inventory down, one color, and so we can satisfy a lot of demand. But to have the tanks available, because if you don't have the tanks, then you're gonna have to go do something else. So you wanna have a stockpile, at least some in the background, so you can keep working until the supply recovers.
Well, here's what I have to share. I'm not a business person in any sense of the word. I'm a tradesman. Before I was a landscaper, as a builder. So I've got, that's my approach to how I do landscape construction as a builder. And I have two things to share, I think, that might be helpful. One is that some of us on the panel have already said that, like, your time is valuable. I think it's a mistake to either to really ever give your time away or give your ideas away. Your ideas have value, and you can talk about things in general terms, but try not to design something for somebody for free, because you know what I'm saying. The other thing is, I guess on the same theme, is in the early days, the language of the rebate program made it sound like you were going to get something for free. And whenever you give something for free, it devalues it. So that, in other words, we'd have customers that were not very sophisticated about the idea that they're getting professional landscaping at a hugely subsidized cost. So during that early period, we made it a point to never have a rain garden come in at its subsidy. So there was always skin in the game. At a certain point, when the vendor, the VPO option, or when the VPO became a functional way to be attractive to a customer, we let those filter out. Part of it was that I didn't want to be in a financial relationship with a utility. I don't want to be a utility contractor. I'm a private contractor. All the jobs that we get with some help from the utility, as far as spooling our business identity in outreach, every single one of those jobs that we work for, to procure that job from the customer, to manage it, to matriculate it into an actual project, that's 100% efforts of our small business. At a certain point, another contractor approached us, a landscape designer, and said, I want to be a part of this rain garden program, but I can't, I can't manage building them. I don't have, I don't really know how to, get the crew together, or how to move soil away, and I know all that stuff. I've got a bunch of dump trucks, and I've got an excavator, and I've got a bunch of kids that work for me, and so that's easy. So we have like a non-official partnership where there's no, it's just a gentleman's agreement, or that's a bad word to say, but we have it's just ladies, so we're both gentlemen, or we're both ladies. We have a professional agreement. You gotta think with a linguist. So I have a relationship with another designer where we hire her to follow leads, and she's got developed over the years a system of filtering them out to make sure that we're getting the projects that seem like they're going to be So no, in other words, I have to, I'm investing some money in, her time and relying on her expertise, to be the first line of defense against just the cold call of like, oh, I'm interested in having a rain garden. They help if they're in the basin that we work in. It's like my colleague there, we basically have self-selected a territory that we work in. It's not anything other than the convenience of not having to drive very much. Yeah, don't give anything away. Don't present things as free. And we partnered with another builder so that I can provide building services for her small landscape design business, where we might be on it's called Trillium Design. We might be on a Trillium Design project, whether it's a rain garden or not. And so we will have her yard sign, and our trucks and my crew with our orange hats, and it'll be her project. And then of the job leads that she gets while she's working for us, they'll be our project. And so that was a fortunate and totally unplanned, wonderful thing to have. It's happened in the little arc of my career.
So a couple more tools that I remember. So the next thing you want to look at is how to contract. So and we call ours a scope of work agreement. So it lays out, we're going to build this in accordance with the King County SB RainWise program. This is what we're going to do. This is we have a budget that goes with it. We have a site plan that goes with it. And if there's any out-of-pocket expense, we say this is the out-of-pocket expense. Paid before we begin construction. So I meant to ask, we do get paid out of pocket before. And then, so we've been very successful with that because it kind of lays out mutual. It's not it's a contract, but it's more of a kind of an agreement. The scope of work, this is what we're going to do. And these are all the details, and you have to sign that. And so, and to include, you will sign the rebate papers when the project is finished. Because you don't want to be hanged, well, I didn't like that. When the project's done, the inspector passes it, then you have to sign the rebate. So. And then the out-of-pocket has been really successful. When I estimate a project, and we need to make a certain amount per project. Our goal is to get X dollars per our effort. And I'll leave it up to you to figure out what it is for you. And so we figure out what the rebate is, and we say we need this increment to make it work for us. It's called opportunity cost. Like, we can make this on this project, why work on another project where you won't make quite as much? I mean, you're the guy who's got to stay in business, so you want to make sure you maintain your overhead costs. And so when you step out the door, you go look at a project, you need to make sure that you're going to get that amount, or don't do that project. Then you have to figure out, well, when do you tell a client no? Okay. First client will want, before we get the scope of work signed, they want all these iterations, like I want to do this permutation. So I cut them off and say, all right, I will do that, but it's going to cost you, and I work at $100 an hour. So it's going to cost you for that consulting service to get your project like you want it. You're going to have to pay this additional amount. So either they will, or they'll say, well, I'll move to another contractor. So, but you need to be up front before you step in the door, so that you limit yourself and what you're spending. You're not giving your services what you want to charge for this, because your time is valuable. You guys are working hard to stay in business, so you want to make sure that you've accounted for all your time in the ground.
And also, we want you to charge because we charge.
Yeah.
We would like to have like a union of landscape contractors, and we can all agree.
Reverend.
Well, what's out there, there's so much work to be done. There's so few contractors working it. It's an open field. It's a target-rich environment. So, the other thing I was going to say is, everybody familiar with IMAP? Okay. So you can actually go online and figure out what the project's costs or the rebate could be before you get to see the client. So you get their address, you can measure the roof area pretty much. Do the Google Street View, you can see what it looks like. You can actually see if they have viable sites or connections from their downspout. You can see it. You can see the little concrete floor, all that kind of stuff. And then set it up and say, look, I will come out to look at your place. There may be some out-of-pocket expense. Are you okay with that? And so we set that up in advance, and we try to touch as many projects on a trip. So we're coming from Gig Harbor, so we drive that I-5 corridor every day. Okay, so what we try to do is hit 5 or 6 projects at a time. So we want to touch as many projects to make it, valuable for us, so, we don't drive every day, but we're up a lot working.
But that's a great tip to have the map,
Mhm.
at least rough, unless there's a huge conifer
Yeah.
over their roof, which sucks. But yeah, if you have the map before you get there, maybe you don't know exactly how it will pan out when you actually see it, but you can have an idea. Well, you can give them a rough, like this is what your rebate's gonna be, but I can tell you already that we have to do this, versus like having to have that conversation over email after the fact. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Another tool to use is Visio. Visio is a good, site development tool that, is like $120 a seat, but it's worth getting, because it has all the little, you can do all your site plans with that in scale. And so Visio, it's worth the investment.
John reminded me too, you should say this, pulling the side sewer card and knowing how to find that
Yeah.
on the DCI website, so if people don't know how to do that, we can show you, or we'll make a link.
There's also a permit research tool online, where if you have a client that says like, I'm not sure if I'm eligible, or, I had some recent work done, is it been reported, you can go, there's a link, and I think I don't know if that's available on the RainWise site. But
Not on RainWise,
You
but
can get to the side sewer card, there's a link to go right back to permits.
Yeah.
And knowing where the side sewer is, it does have some errors on the side sewer card. Some of this information is 20, 30 something years old. I mean, a lot of these are like hand drawn from the 60s or 70s, 100 years old, some of it.
Yeah.
So you could look at the side sewer card and go, oh, that's where the side sewer is gonna be, and then you'll show up and there'll be a garage, and there'll be a whole bunch of other stuff that's got built out. So, it's kind of a confusing process, because there's like little pages that come up, that is like, oh, this is the recommended page that you'll pull up, and you can look at that, and that'll have that hand-drawn thing. But then there's also, the map that's on the side sewer card site, above, that sometimes has more up-to-date information, and if you can zoom in on that, you can sometimes get a pretty good idea of what it's gonna be.
You have access to that, there's a little more detailed sewers, it's been mapped, right?
Well, what Jake's talking about is available through the side sewer card portal. I do have more detailed maps if for some reason it's necessary.
Yeah.
So the next question is to James
Yeah, question.
specifically.
Yeah, I know how much Jake charges for initial consultation, but what about the rest of you guys?
250, 200, 250. If we do, we don't, for RainWise, we don't charge
Okay.
typically.
I charge 50 or 100, just depending on what's going on, how much time or anything.
I don't even know.
That's what the CPA is for,
It's
right?
not my job, yeah.
If he works a
She'll
shovel.
tell you,
He works a shovel.
yeah.
So
I think it's
James,
$75. I think that's what it is.
cool. Can you say a little bit about kind of your expectations for when and how contractors communicate with inspectors, what you've seen as best practices that makes the project, how much communication you'll be doing pre-inspection, site planning, post-inspection, and any advice you would give of this is the best way to do it if you're just getting started?
And maybe also what really irritates me.
I don't know about that, I never get irritated, of course.
No,
We hire them because they don't get irritated.
Well, let's just start with the new contractor. The brand new contractors hardly ever talk to me. And that's really, really strange for me, because throughout the 3 days of training, I'm always there saying, talk to me, call me, let me know what's going on, you have a question. I say, if you're out there working a job site and you wanna know what to do, or you have a question about how to work this job site, call me, I'll probably come out and be able to drop by and talk to you, and it never happens. I mean,
That is shocking, you must say it 300 times in those 2 nights.
and then I show up for the post inspection, and it's
Wow.
like, see you next week. I don't know why, maybe some, people can comment on that sometime, I don't know why. If you get past that initial hurdle, you got a pretty good idea, and everybody up here has a really good idea. You get the pre-inspection waiver going on, that's when you're asking the question is, why can't I do this, and why can't I do the next thing? What are people asking about? That'd be a good question for the panel, but they're asking for things like, the site sewer card doesn't match up with the project site, and so then they're saying, what am I doing here? They're calling because they have something odd, and they know it's gonna involve inspector discretion. Gutters are a good one, it's a pain in the butt for a lot of folks. Some of the RainWise inspectors, when you're not collecting the whole roof, they wanna make absolutely sure the water goes left at this point or right at that point. Some inspectors are saying, put a little dam up in there so I can just be positive that that's happening. Some inspectors are just like, we'll just split the difference. So when you find yourself and these folks all here all have experience with that, they know that they're walking into a potential minefield, then they're giving us a call saying, hey, why don't you come out here and comment on it. Anything else I'm missing?
My advice to you guys, working with James and others, is to, when you do your pre-inspection, that's really important, don't do the, if you don't have the experience, don't do the, what is it?
The waiver.
Waiver.
Inspection waiver, sure.
Because interpretations of the design center are up to the inspector, and it changes a lot. So I think what you wanna do is walk through carefully your pre-inspection, so I wanna make sure I understand the specs, I'm gonna do this, what do you think? So try to get all that up front if you can, and you'll get practice, so I wanna walk through, this is how I've got 3 tanks, how should I do the cross connection for the tanks, how should I hook them up so that they're cascading properly? Please tell me what you're looking for when I go to do it, so if you can have a lot of that stuff up front, you'll have a much better conversation, James will be happier, and then your project probably goes smooth.
What was your number again?
396-5278.
I'll just reflect to, or one of the questions that Sonia sent out ahead of time was like, what did you learn and what would you say to new contractors? And sorry, I'm skipping to that, but it just kind of goes to what James was just touching on. I think that early on when we started this, I had this idea of city inspectors, oh no, and like just this contractor government relations. And I think everybody here kind of already gets that SBU, King County, they're here for you to make this thing a success. And I think that was something that it took a little bit of learning curve. I remember some of the first inspections I had at Bob Spencer, and I was like, oh, you guys are okay people. Okay, this is good. Yeah.
I guess the only thing that really tees me off is aerial measurements of roofs. When the contractor does an aerial measurement of the roof and they call somebody out there for the pre-inspection and I'm measuring it with the tape with them, I'm like, you're off by 2 feet. What'd you do? Oh, I just measured on Google Map. I'm not charging you for the inspection, so please be ready when we're doing the inspection. Happy to talk about ideas with you, but you gotta do your half of the equation, please.
John, do you wanna add anything?
No, I mean, the inspectors are there to help you, and we support that, and the other thing is the pre-inspection is really important. And the one thing we don't wanna do is get the post-inspection and be held up, and then you're wondering where your money is, and we're sitting there trying to get something resolved between you and the inspector, so the inspector says, hey, the inspector would be really nice to say, fix this, send me a picture, let me know, so you just have a picture, if you fix something, do it, follow up with them, remember to send those pictures in, because once we get to the point where we're looking at the rebate and there's a note that says they owe me a picture, we're gonna wait to give you your rebate until we know we have that picture. So we're gonna try to process the rebate as fast as we can, and I think we're getting better at that than 7 years ago.
I will say that, yeah, I was at the beginning, the rebate process probably sped up 50%, so it's been really good, you guys are good now.
So those are the key elements, but the pre-inspection waiver is nice, but the pre-inspection is there for you and the customer, right? Customer wants something crazy, or you wanna try something different, or something just doesn't make sense, that's what the pre-inspection for, and all the inspectors are there to talk you through it, right? Figure it out, and if they can't, they usually get on their phone or their iPad and they'll email me and James and whoever's gonna be the program manager at SB, Bob, for a little while.
Tom,
Oh, Tom.
should we introduce
Oh, yeah.
our new
And
program
Tom.
manager?
Hi, I'm Tom Gannon, I'm the new program manager for I'll be working with all this,
My boss.
I don't know about that. I claim no supervisory role.
Yeah, the inspectors at King County are surface water, stormwater inspectors from King County Stormwater Services, so they actually work all over the county, but getting all this experience down at the Rain, that's really good for them, so they're getting as much out of this as the program can offer to be better at doing their actual inspection service jobs than they actually do for stormwater services, so you're getting a pretty good crop of experienced inspectors. They all have different personalities. James is one way, All the inspectors have their own personality, just like you all do, so just remember that.
I do have a
And
question.
you can't request a certain inspector every time you do an inspection.
Darn it.
I do have a question just for the group. So there's a period of time when 1979 is the cutoff for construction, is it?
No.
No.
No?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, totally. Well, I mean, okay, 1979 was the year that after that, all residential and commercial was supposed to have the stormwater controls in place. Huh?
Supposed
This is
to.
gonna confuse folks. If a site has GSI, it's not eligible. If the site has partial GSI and the other portion does not have GSI, the portion that does not have GSI is eligible. So y'all have to look into that and make sure you're not tying into an existing GSI feature. If you have doubt, talk to the inspector that can help you out there.
Is that gonna be something on the site sewer card?
It may or may not be.
Or the permit, that's the other.
The permit, and
Permit's the best
we
place
search
to
the
go.
permits and sometimes it's not clear, so just being on site. Side sewer card usually has if there's a detention, and that's something we catch all the time if there's already detention, so that was post 1994, no offense to the city of Seattle, not everything happened precisely on January 1st of such a year. Things took a while to implement, so you could have a house that was remodeled in 1994 but have no detention in it. You can have a building that was built in 1997 and we can't find detention and it may not be obvious out in the field, so that's the kind of thing you wanna, it's worth just doing your homework and kind of kicking the dirt a little bit to figure out what's.
Current code gives single-family residences 1,500 square foot credit.
Yeah,
So if you're building a house that has a roof area of 1,400 square feet, they have no GSI, even though they were built a year ago.
Oh, wow.
The reason I mention that, because it's come up a couple times, not because I was interested, but the homeowner was interested. He wanted to know, I built my house, extended it, I can't find a record of it. Who do I call to? That's when I gave you, just to say, I don't want to proceed until I get an answer. And so I just want to make sure that I can send it to either you or you now
Yeah.
for a resolution.
send it to Tom,
Tom?
yeah.
And just so you guys know, Sonia and I, one of our work orders we have with King County is to basically document and track this whole process of what we call like vetting. Like we look up addresses or someone says, hey, we found this building, we want it to be RainWise. John has to check it first. And he's doing this checklist in his head, kind of like checking all these things off to know that it is actually eligible for RainWise. So Sonia and I are going to document that and like encapsulate all of that into hopefully something handy we can send to you all. So either you'll be able to do some of it yourself, or that we'll be able to do some of it, or that it'll just be more transparent of like why is a site, it looked eligible but it's not, or we thought it was and half of it isn't, or something. I mean, there's all that, every project is a
But I
puzzle.
also have a team that I work with back at the office, it's not just me, by the way.
It used
So
to be just you.
Well, even before that, I was still kind of free advice. Because some things, a bigger roof project is different than a single-family resident project. When we're just infiltrating about 500 square feet into a rain garden, you know, unless it's really bad or it's sitting there perched on a cliff, we're probably gonna say, yeah, it's not. But when we start getting into the 5,000, 6,000 square foot roofs with multiple rain gardens and all this stuff, we've got people that we wanna kind of advise, and we kind of know the soils in the air, we know what can be done. It takes some time, it's gonna take a little bit more time for us to say, yes, that's okay. And even if the website says it's in a RainWise, it says, rain garden eligible, but it's a big roof, we're gonna double check all that. Cause 2,000 square feet going into the ground is a lot more impact than small roofs. That's the stuff we want to kind of check on the bigger roof projects, the residential ones. If you question it, please question it. If you walk up to a house and you go, I don't understand why this is a cistern, a side sewer, I'm in a perfectly good neighborhood, the soil looks good, give us a call, because guess what? The data is data. And it's old data, new data, inaccurate data, and sometimes we find that retaining walls in a neighborhood will trigger the 200-foot setback from steep slopes. So that's sometimes we catch that. Sometimes we find areas where it is combined and it is part of that basin, but for some reason the computer kind of cut it off. So I think it was you, John, who found a whole couple neighborhoods, a couple blocks where they were not even in the basin, but they
The
were.
garage that I use is the first house to not be in the eligible zone. I'm so
Of
sad.
course, right.
The person right there is eligible, it's okay.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's worth asking the question,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
those lines were arbitrarily drawn in the 1980s, and we've been working really hard to update those
Yeah.
what we call our basin lines.
Have you asked and gotten a double check?
Oh, I got a double check negative.
Dang.
Not gonna happen.
I just wanted to, there is a big rough fact sheet in that table of a little extra information for anybody who wants to pick up a little more information.
I
I
don't
think it's right behind Jake, actually.
Oh,
So one more question for the panelists, and then we're gonna open it up. Just how much effort do you put on customer recruitment? Are you actively doing outreach? Are you passively? Some of you have mentioned word of mouth. Are you trying to organize clusters? Are you trying to find big roofs? Are you putting energy into recruitment, or are you letting it be word of mouth?
Well, now, after all these years, it just comes to us, and we, have a website, everybody's got a website, there's a portal for rain gardens, and there's like, maybe 4 or 5 a week, inquiries a week on the website for rain gardens. That's a generalization. But back in the early days, we made door hangers, and we had yard signs in every project. I would go out of my way to while I was working on it, if a neighbor walked by, I made it really clear, what we were doing. So that's all good, best practice stuff for like a little business is to just be as demonstrative as you can, about what it is you're doing and why, and there's cranks out there that think it's socialism or whatever, but mostly, people love, landscaping, everybody, all of us know this. You've got a customer that unlike any other in the trades. Like if you need you're a plumber, or electrician, or carpenter to fix some rot in your house, you're spending money that you'd rather not. If you're gonna spend money on your landscape, you're psyched. And so, it's the sweet spot, so keep that in mind, and empower yourself with that knowledge that you're there because they would do that if they can, so you want a pro there.
I love outreach and finding new clients. I like to get out in the public. When I started doing RainWise, I come from election organizing background, so I did door to door in Ballard when the program opened up, and met lots of folks who had, what the honk are you talking about? Or doors shut in the face and all that stuff. Now it's all word of mouth. People find us either on the RainWise site or they see our signs around the neighborhood. Is how we find most of our clients. Because people see our work, it's on display in people's front yards, so they get excited about what we do. But then I also do a lot of outreach through education. So last weekend I was at Seattle TILF for 2 days. There was a RainWise booth set up there, saw Aaron there, and we had our Joy of Chickens mobile chicken coop set up, where people were coming and cuddling chickens, and we had RainWise info and pictures of our projects. I will put out a plug, because some of the education work I do is involved with the Green Infrastructure Partnership, and I've seen half the people in this room at meetings there. But that is a really great resource for ongoing networking events like this, where we organize to have speakers. So, and that's a collaboration of nonprofits, government agency, folks from SPU are on there, and then businesses like myself. And we are a steering committee that decide what the topics are going to be. And we've got stuff on the 300 level cistern class, where we had Ken Blair from came and talked about how to make potable systems out of cisterns. We've done microremediation. This last one was on environmental justice. What the honk is upcoming?
the cistern or the rain garden in a box.
Same thing
Yes,
with Amy's.
yeah, the rain garden in a box. So, are you gonna get that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Amy's presenting, but
Amy's
Actually, Amy's
presenting.
doing, she's got all our stuff for that.
Yeah. So anyway, the grip, if you guys are not already on that listserv, look it up or talk to me and I can get you on there.
Or put your name
Or
on this
put your
piece of
name on there.
paper, I'll put it on this table right over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
we want contractors there.
And we'll just get you on the mailing list, it's free, it's the third Thursday every month.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a great way to learn, it's a great way if you have new staff to send them to learn.
Yeah.
Great way to network, great way to find nonprofits that you could end up going for grants with for some of these educational projects. Sorry.
Oops. Jake, behind you there's a marketing summary that we can pass out to upcoming 101s and different events if people wanna do outreach. John, do you wanna say what you do?
I just wanna say hitch up to what the nonprofits and the city and the county people are doing and where they're asking for contractors to show up. Because they need our support, because they want to be at an event and have someone who's a contractor there, not just the city people. But I think probably our greatest success has been directly through partners with people that are in this room, you know? Less so even than door to door, passing out flyers, because there's a barrier there, like they get your flyer and maybe they've seen the RainWise thing, but these people, sometimes when they get interested, they will reach out to the city person or they'll want to go to that event, you know? And so that's probably been the most successful thing for us. And I also think it's important because the city needs our support as contractors to make those events more, you know, more informative and more practical.
Yeah, go to the RainWise events.
Go to all the RainWise events, because a lot of times not enough people come.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is the hardest thing is people finding you guys, and like, I
Yeah.
brought the postcards that just went out, you know, we always let you know how many go out every month, and, if they can talk to you there, done, they don't have to think about doing it for the next 3 years and then never getting around to it, so.
And that's money we're putting out to do those events?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
county's money, the city's money to do those events, take
Well, it's
advantage of it?
Well, it's-
As long as you live in this, as long as you live within our service areas, we're an enterprise. Not David's money, he lives in Gay Carver.
I just want to give a plug to Kat. Well, it's sort of betraying the two hats that I have on, but the Duwamish Infrastructure Restoration Training Program, Dirt Corps, we are training people to become your future employees. Jake actually scooped up one of our ringers and gave him full-time work, and you know, like, it's amazing. It's just makes me really happy. So talk to Kat if you are thinking ahead for the summer and thinking, oh my god, I need to hire a part-time person, or I need someone 3 days a week. Kat can help you connect to people who are on our crew right now who would want some extra work in green shirt. Yeah. So anyway, that's just our part of this whole thing.
Questions for contractors?
I got a few. First, does anybody have any side sewer contractors that they work with that they could recommend?
Probably not gonna tell you.
Is that a trade secret?
Yeah, well, because they get busy, so what you could, there is a list in the city of Seattle publishes, a registered list of contractors.
I know I called like 10 of them yesterday and nobody
You
answered the phone.
gotta keep looking. Now,
Okay.
yeah, and it networks, so if nobody, just go visit them, say, do you know somebody who would work, you might find some smaller contractors. But they're out there, and sometimes they're one-person operators, and so you just have to kind of network.
That's what I was
and
looking to find, yeah.
Yeah, you'll find them, keep looking.
It's the same with the gutter people too,
Yeah.
because you can really leverage a lot if you get some good gutter help.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is just a pain.
Yeah.
It's not what I want to do.
I don't want to touch a side
And it
sewer.
completely
Yeah,
can,
avoid it, actually.
it can make the whole project so much simpler. I've gone and seen some projects like in the neighborhood where you can tell they just didn't even occur to them they could change the gutters, and you're looking at all the stuff they did. That looks awful. All the piping and just all the time to bury and do, and you know, it's just, yeah.
Let me elaborate on this concept of side sewer contractor. There's two types of side sewer contractors. There's what's referred to as a registered side sewer contractor. You can find them on the DPD DCI's website. It's the list David was referring to. You must have a registered side sewer contractor if you're doing work in the right of way. If you're doing work on private property, any schmuck can do the work.
Okay.
If you're in the right of way, you gotta get that list. If you're on private property, any schmuck can do
So I need to find a schmuck. That's what you're
Yes.
saying.
Find a reliable, somebody does.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're gonna find somebody who's probably may not be registered, so you have to network to find that, because
Okay.
they're
Are
out
dirt
there.
poor folks not good?
Teach us how to do it.
That's a good distinction to draw though,
But
that
they're
helps.
busy, so you have to catch them
Yeah.
and form a relationship and throw them work.
Yeah, I've seen the list from the DCI, and they have folks that won't touch a project unless it's like $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Gary Merlinos, the Titans, all those folks are on that list, and they're not gonna talk to you.
No. Actually, they were very nice.
I'm sure they're
I called
very nice. The receptionist would be very nice.
No, they sent me off to some other guy. It was very nice. But yeah, anyway.
Jake?
I'll just say, any schmuck can do the work. I was a schmuck who did that work. I was as far as I know, at the time, I was the first one to make an underground connection to side sewer. It's not that complicated. You gotta get the right, connections, you know, like,
Yeah.
if you're doing the concrete, you gotta get the big firm coat, and you gotta make sure you're using the right piece. But it's not that complicated. It does mean you gotta go down to DCI, and once DCI gets involved, though, then there's turf wars with SBU and DCI, which you'll learn about as you go along with this, because DCI has certain standards around where water goes and all of that. Maybe I'll let someone in government elaborate on that so I don't misspeak.
You'll find out what nice guys the RainWise inspectors are.
Yes, when you work with DCI. But yeah, I will say, don't shy away. Sometimes, you know, like when you see on the side sewer card, you'll see a line going into the house, and there'll be like this little hair going out. That's a connection that you can make. If there's a little hair going out on there, that means that's a like a Y, what am I trying to say? Yeah, like a clean out. And you can possibly dig a hole, find that little hair, and there's a pipe right there that you can connect to.
Or get into the basement or crawl space and find
That too.
that where you can know where it is and maybe how deep it is. It might be just a few feet down, so find where those pipes are. And you can even now, thanks to some other contractors, you can actually time that pipe through the crawl space.
Mhm.
You can drill a hole through their foundation wall, core drill it, and you can run a pipe and connect into their side sewer, or right at the crawl space level.
And I'll say, it's not that complicated, but it does get costly, because then you have to you gotta pull it, when you're doing an underground connection to side sewer, you gotta pull a $375 permit. You gotta go down to DCI, you gotta go through inspections that way. So, I mean, when we're doing that, I usually advise people, you know, for our own finances, like $1,200, $1,500 more, just to make that connection, then plus all the digging that's involved and all that, so. But yeah, it's not that complicated, but it is complicated, I guess.
Yeah, we just don't have the manpower to be dealing with that and the design.
Everything else, yeah.
Other questions?
Yes. All right. How about
Right there.
you were mentioning the CPA. Do all of you use CPAs, or yes or no?
I don't yet, I'm on the way though. I've never gone included in there, so.
Those who have CPAs, about how much are you looking at it costs?
It's negotiable, depends how much you want them to do.
We have a bookkeeper that comes in once a week,
Yeah.
and she's like $185 an hour or something like that. She's there for 4 hours.
Okay.
I've got 5 employees and, all kinds of expenses, so. I mean, it's a, not even a luxury, it's just that we have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pays, make sure the taxes are paid, and
You can do a
Start
lot
with a
of-
bookkeeper.
You can have your own bookkeeping software, and then you can give that to your accountant to review, but you can do all your inputs and then send that to them, and so they'll negotiate the price based on how much work you're gonna do.
Yeah. Okay.
the bookkeeper then goes to the CPA.
I was wondering how much you guys are spending, because then I have an idea of like what we're.
Well, that, plus they're gonna do your taxes, so
Yeah.
they'll do that accounting for you, and then also do your business taxes, you know, your federal stuff, so $2,500, $3,000 a year maybe? Depending how much you do.
Other questions? How about, does anybody have a scope of work agreement that they would be willing to share? Unless somebody else would.
I hired a lawyer to make mine,
Yeah.
and I've updated it over the years, and I've got a lot of money invested in it.
So it's like 10.
Hire me.
Just 10 lines, here's what I'm gonna do, here's the steps, here's the things we're gonna do. This out-of-pocket expense, you have to sign a letter of understanding now, there's a new requirement for RainWise, so you put all those things that you want them to do, the outcomes, and you say, if there's an out-of-pocket expense, you list that. You might say that the warranty is good for 6 months, after that time, I'm gonna charge you X dollar, so much an hour to repair your system after the warranty is expired.
Calendar year.
And just kind of list all the things that you want to be clear in your agreement, and it's real simple, it can be really not something super formal, and that way it won't raise a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
You can find some good scope of work contracts online,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I did.
yeah, and just redo it.
I mean, I think we have a pretty solid one. It's just nice to
Yeah, just
Yeah.
see other people are doing it.
you can find new experiences, you know, like, why didn't I think about that? So yeah, that becomes line number 11, when you have that experience with a client.
And make sure not to put plants under warranty. That's something I'll
Yeah,
recommend
don't
to
do that.
everybody.
Don't do
Is, and
Yeah.
tell your clients that up front. Once it's in the ground, it's up to you. You know, I've had the experience of like a plant dying a week after install. Then I'll come and replace it. But I almost always, when we're signing the contract, I'm like, this is not under warranty. The plants are up to you. Yeah.
Also, the tanks that you're buying through the Conservation Corps or others, the Bushman tanks have a 10-year warranty, and there's a warranty paper that goes with each tank, which you could fill out for the client and mail that in for them, or they can mail it in, so that will be registered, so. You know, don't forget that, that's a 10-year, they're probably the best in the business. I think the others are 8 and then on down, so
Has
that's,
Bushman ever served a warranty on these things?
I don't know, they've been in business.
Go to
that long.
Australia and rent that.
But
Yeah.
they will replace tanks, you know, if there's a warranty issue, but you have it registered, so within 10 years,